Hello and welcome to our webinar, A Deeper Dive into Project Explorer. This webinar is brought to you by Applied Software. My name is Caitlin Dunn and I'm pleased to be your moderator today. We encourage you to take advantage of our fully customizable webinar console by clicking on the icons at the bottom of your screen. You can resize any of these widgets during the presentation. We'll take time to answer questions at the end. Be sure to check out our free webinar library and register for upcoming webinars. This is being recorded for your convenience. You'll be receiving an email with the recording link for future reference. Find Applied Software on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram to make meaningful connections, receive special offers, and stay up to date on the newest innovations. And be sure to visit our website, ASTI.com, to see how to achieve your design and business objectives through our innovative solutions, training options, and services. You can also find a complete schedule of upcoming events, webinars, and training on our calendar at asti.com/calendar. I'm pleased to introduce Corey Charlick. Corey is a civil solutions specialist at Applied Software. Thank you for joining us today, Corey. Take it away.
Thank you, Caitlin. I'm glad to be here this morning. Welcome to everybody. It is still morning for most of us, I think, so good morning to you. Hope you're all staying warm. It's a little bit chilly here in Colorado. Caitlin and I were just talking about that. So let's talk about Project Explorer today. I'm going to share my screen, and if Caitlin can confirm once she sees it, that would be great. So that should share that one. And
getting there. I see a little loading button.
Hopefully I shared the right one. Yep, looks like it. All right, excellent. So we're going to talk about Project Explorer. A quick review from last webinar. To use Project Explorer, you have to have access to the 2021 AEC collection. With that access, you can still use Project Explorer in 2020. You just have to have that access to the 2021 AEC collection. It is a separate item install within the AEC collection. So you'll have to go to your download manager to go find it there. Once you do, once we're in Civil 3D, we will find our Project Explorer in our Add-ins tab, all the way over here. So we'll click on Add-ins, and then we'll have our Launch Project Explorer button right here. So let's jump right in and get going. So I've got the same drawing open that I was using for our last webinar. It's a basic subdivision. It's got some roads, corridors, alignments. It's got a pipe network for my sanitary sewer. So it's got lots of good data in there that we can use and manipulate in Project Explorer to see what we've got going on. So we found our Project Explorer up here in our ribbon in the Add-ins tab. Let's talk about comparing some objects within our Project Explorer. This is specifically helpful for our profiles and our alignments. That way we can real quick check and compare our existing ground to our FG and then possibly spit out reports for that. So I want to start on our alignments tab, the very first tab in our Project Explorer up here on the left. And I'm going to browse down and I'm going to go find my alignment that I want to use. So I've got my centerline alignment right here for my front and neck drive. And within that, I have an EG surface and a FG surface. And as I click on those, we can see they show up as a profile here up above. If I click on my FG, it shows my FG profile with that shading, and then we can see the existing ground underneath that. But let's say I want to do a comparison. I'm the design engineer, and I just want to quick and look through and see what my maximum fill areas might be. How am I going to do that? Well, I want to start off with my EG surface with that highlighted. And then I want to come up to our Compare To button up here at the very top in our Project Explorer. And if I select that drop down, I'll then browse down to my alignment that I'm using. And then I can then select my other surface that is or profile that's part of that alignment. And I want to compare it to my front neck drive FG surface. I do that, and it's great if I scroll over in my data tab here, I can scroll all the way over and I can see that I've got a compare to. I can see what I'm comparing to, and then I can see what my design speed is and my compared elevations. But this is kind of cumbersome, right? I don't want to have to be scrolling back and forth in my window trying to see what I'm comparing. So how do I go about customizing that window a little bit so that I can see only the data I want to and not all of the extraneous data that I really don't need to see to make this comparison? So to do that, I want to hit the layout button down here in the bottom, and I need to move a little button from my webinar so I can see it. But right down here in our Project Explorer, we have our layout button. So I'm going to click on the layout button. It's going to bring up this dialog here. And if I want to be working in my alignments, I want to find those. I'm going to work in my alignments right here. I want to select the column layout for alignments and profile collected or calculated stations. So right here I have my option to choose what I'm looking at, and I want to look at this set column layout for my calculated stations right here. So I want to click that, and it's going to rearrange some of the data that's available for me. Next off, I just want to clear all these checked fields, and I'm just going to turn on the ones that I really want to see. I'm going to hit the clear all button right here. And after I do that, I'll go through and select my columns that I really want to see. So I want to see the alignment profile name. I'm not so concerned with description or object style. Start station and end station is of interest to me. If I keep scrolling down here, let me expand this window a little bit more so we can see more at a time. Let's see, am I looking at the right one here? Object type, start station, end station, elevations. So I want my compared elevation, and then I'm not too concerned about my compared slope here. So minimum, maximum elevation right here. We'll get all the ones we want selected, and then we will go ahead and click OK. So we can adjust these tabs. We can move things up in our order a little bit where I want to move my compared elevation up. So I'm going to use this arrow right here and move that up next to that. And then if I hit click OK, we're going to see some changes in my dialog right here. Where I have my minimum elevation, and then I have my compared elevation over here. So let's resize that column a little bit. Let's go back into our layout here. And alignments, we're going to go back into our calculated stations. And I'm going to get rid of this minimum elevation, and we're going to sample every 10 feet, 5 feet along curves, and then we should be okay with that. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and it's going to bring this over where I can see that's a minimum slope there. That's the wrong one. Excuse my error there. Back here. Select that and do that. All right, so now I have my maximum elevation, and it's still not showing up. Goodness, there we go. That's what I wanted. I wanted my elevation button right there. So I've got my elevation. I want to move that down a little bit so that my start and end station is above that, and I want to select that and then get rid of that maximum elevation. That should do the trick there. Perfect. So I've got my compared elevation, and then I have my elevation of the first profile I selected. So I can compare those side by side real easy. Let me see if I can adjust this column. Let me move my window over a little bit and see if that will let me get hold of it there. There we go. So we can see these numbers a little bit more side by side. Why is that one so big? What is it? Well, this didn't happen yesterday while I was looking at things, but we can see we can easily go in and turn on those columns and adjust the order so we can see what we're comparing. If I go back into my layout here and choose my calculated stations here, I want to make sure that I have my turned on what I'm comparing to, because that is important to know as well. So that would be the source file, I believe. Click OK. And then I can see that I'm comparing my EG to my FG surface. So real easy, I can scroll through here and check those elevations. There's one more column I forgot to turn on, and that should be our differences there. So let me turn that on. Import date, compared slope, compared offset. Offset northern eastern station. Let's see, source string. Where's the one I want? There's one in here that tells me the difference between the two entities that I'm comparing. Compared eastern offset center. So it's in there. I'm just overlooking it right now. So we're just going to move on from that. We can find that. We can come in here. We can customize our columns, make lots of changes, see what we want to. And then when we're done, if we want to restore this back to the way the default settings are in the program. We just click the Restore Defaults and click OK. And again, we have all 500 columns to look at here in our Project Explorer. So that is real quick. That is comparing our objects and customizing columns a little bit using our layouts. You can adjust all the tabs at once with the layout button in here. So we can come in here and we could adjust all the tabs at once if we wanted to. You can save the layouts to use or share later. So if I come in and I make these changes and turn off the data I don't want to see in here, once I'm done, I can go ahead and save this. So I can click Save, and I can save this out as a, it's going to be an XMPT file, and then I would call this my compare profile surfaces. And then next time I open Project Explorer in a different project, or I need somebody else to be able to make that same comparison, I can send this compare surfaces file that I just saved, and they can load that right up and then have all the same settings that I'm using. We can save that out and then share that or save it to use again later. So that is our quickly saving things. We can restore things with the restore defaults when we're all done. I'm going to go ahead and click OK on that. So that's nice. That's a great tool in Project Explorer, being able to compare data. But how can we make Project Explorer work for us a little bit more? Maybe putting table data into AutoCAD, exporting data out of Civil 3D for us to look at, making PDFs or HTML tables for us to share with our engineers or reviewing agencies. Or maybe we just need to be able to quickly export out some Civil 3D objects into basic AutoCAD or vanilla AutoCAD into those 2D entities that maybe our architect or our planner or marketing team needs to use so that they can make some marketing materials. So we're going to cover more of that as well. So let's talk about creating some dynamic tables, because this is a great benefit in Project Explorer as well. So I want to go over to my Pipe Networks tab up here in the very top. I'm going to click on Pipe Networks. I want to then find my Object Sets tab. So within here, this is all the data for my pipe network. I've got my Structures tab right here. I've got my pipes right here, a list of all my pipes, their inverts, all that good data, and then the pipe run information. I don't have any pipe runs. I don't have any of those set up in this file, but I do have 18 pipes and 22 structures. So let's make a structures table that we can insert right into AutoCAD and have it update dynamically or automatically for us. So I'm going to pan over my AutoCAD a little bit, and I apologize if the screens are a little bit small here. Ideally, when you're using Project Explorer, you would have a second monitor to work on. But in this case, I can only share one screen at a time, so you guys get the smaller version of everything to look at. So I decided I want to make a structures table. So first thing I want to do is I want to head over to my Object Sets tab, the far right in our Project Explorer. This is going to help us create an object set, which is a collection of objects that we can then assign an action to. So once I'm on this tab, I want to click on the Create Object Set button. So I'm going to click that button right there. I'm going to bring up this dialog for us, and then I want to name the object set. So I'm going to call this my Pipe Structures table in model space. So I'm going to call it that. I could add a description if I needed to add further detail to it. Then I want to choose my action, object set action. So what do I want to do? If I hit this drop down, I can see I can create a report to a text file, to a CSV file, to an HTML or PDF file, document, rich text, Excel, export to 2D, AutoCAD DWG file, export a table into model space, and then export a table into paper space. For this, I want to select export table into model space. And then I want to make sure that my table is going to be dynamic. Why would we put a table in our model space and not make it dynamic when we have the ability to? So I always want to use dynamic. There might be occasions where you don't want to make it dynamic and you would set it to manual. Next up, I want to choose my layout style. I can use the layout of Project Explorer. For this instance, that's what I'm going to do right now, is I'm just going to use the default layout that Project Explorer sets up for me. And then I want to pick my insertion point. Where do I want to insert this table into my drawing? So I'm going to click the button there, and I'm going to browse out here. I know that this table is going to be fairly large to start with, so I'm going to click right there, knowing that my table will populate down and to the right. So after we pick our insertion point, we want to set the title cell text to what we want it to be. Object name, that's fine. I'm just going to go with the defaults for now. You could change that if you wanted to. And then I want to select the table style. I can use the default table style for object sets, or I could specify a specific table style, which I haven't made any yet. But once I set up my style, I could then save that out and then browse and import this in when I'm trying to set this up in my next project. So I'm going to use the default table style right now. Then I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now I do that, and we notice nothing showed up in my model space yet. That's because I only set my object set name, but I haven't assigned any data to that yet. So I'm going to make sure I've got this object set selected right here. And then I want to click this plus button right here to add objects to that object set. So I click on that, and it's going to bring up this other dialog for me momentarily here. And we see this is all the same tabs here that we have up here, less this tab. So I want to add my structures from my pipe network. So I'm going to browse over to my pipe network here. I'm going to select my sanitary, and it shows me I've got structures and pipes and everything in there. So I want to select that, and then I want to, if I unselect that, we'll go ahead and click OK, and we're going to add that data. It should populate right here, so we can see that, and I can see all the data that's going to be available. Without this highlighted, anytime I see this purple text, that means that is an editable field or data set that I can change. So I want to, before I do anything, let me zoom in here, and we can see this table that it automatically created for me just as soon as I added the data to that object set. So I can see my pipe network name. It's the sanitary. I don't have a description to it. Tells me what parts list it's using, the general rundown on the structures, the pipes, what the default reference alignment is, reference surface, all that data that we set up in our pipe network when we're getting it going. And then it lists all the items here. So here's all my structures. It tells me the description, the style, east and northern rim, just everything you want to know about it. It's half a mile long, which is more data than I really need to put into my model tab here. So how do I clean this up a little bit? Well, to do that, I want to make a couple changes here. First thing I realize is that I don't really need to have this part of my table visible. So if I go to my sub-object type, that's my structures list, I want to change my object table right here, because our object table is this first part. That's our main object within Civil 3D. That is our pipe network. Our sub-object is going to be these structures. So if I double-click on this object table, it brings us up, and I'm going to uncheck that box, Use Object Table, and click OK. As soon as I do that, we see in my model space over here that that portion of my table disappeared. Excellent. That is an easy change there, but I want to go clean up these columns a little bit here. So what do? I want to go in and double click to edit the purple columns. We did that. I want to edit my object set. So here is my object set. Double click on that. Actually, this is my object set up here. So now I'm going to edit my layout style. By default, I'm using the Project Explorer window, which lists everything that is in all those columns. I want to use a specific one. I could load one if I've already created it and saved it, but for now, I want to come in here and I just want to hit Edit Style. When I hit Edit Style, we see a very similar dialog box showing me everything I want to see. And I want to come in here over to my pipe networks, and I want to set my column layout for structures. And if I look at this, all of these purple columns here with the checkbox are the ones that are shown in my table out here. That's way more than I want to see. I'm going to clear all my selections right now. So I'm going to hit that clear button. And then I want to come in here and choose what I want to see. I know I want the structure name. I'm not concerned about the structure name or the style. I want to see the eastern, the northern, the rim elevation. If I wanted to see connected pipes and the number of pipes, I could check those. I want to see the surface elevation. The reference alignment would be good to see, along with the station and offset of that. I could check to see my material, so I know what material my manhole is. I'll turn that one on. And I like to see my rim to sump height as well. And then I could see my sump elevation here, so that I'll then know the actual elevation of my sump. And I could turn on any of these other columns, but this is a great start for me. So once I have those set, I'm going to click OK. And as soon as I click OK, it's going to bring up this dialog asking me, save this layout style as what? So I'm going to save this as my structure table dash model, because this is going to be my structure table in model space. So I'm just going to overwrite this file that I'd already created, and I'm going to click save. Now that'll allow me next time I need to create this table to simply browse and open up that file that I just created. So now as soon as I click OK, we should see that my table is much smaller now, and it only includes the data that I want to see. That's a good start, but I'm not a big fan of having the fill color on my table, so I want to be able to make some changes to that as well. But this is nice. I can see my structure name, the easting, the northing, the rim elevation, surface elevation, alignment, station offset. I can see I'm putting in reinforced concrete manholes, and then my rim to sump height and my sump elevation. All excellent data for us to see there. But I want to change this table style a little bit. So how do I do that? Let's double click on our object set, which is going to be this up here in this first dialog here. That's our object set. Double click on that so we can go edit it. And now we want to edit our table style. So right now we're using the default table style for object sets. I'm going to click on use a specific table style. I don't have one set up, so let me click on this edit style. It brings up this dialog box, and first thing I want to do is I want to turn off use background colors. So I'm going to uncheck that. I want to show borders. I know that my borders, I want those to be a cyan color. So I'm going to change that color. I could change the margins on here. I could change the font of my table right here. So I can come in here and change this to an Arial if I want that to be an Arial. I can then change the title row if I want that to show up how I want it to be displayed. Right now it's not going to be using those background colors. We see that as grayed out now because I unchecked that box over here. What color do I want my text to be? Just to make things pop a little bit, I'm going to make it a magenta, and I'm going to change that text color on all my other columns as well. So whatever your pin weights are set up for, you can change those colors to match and show up here. And then I'm going to go ahead and click OK. As I do that, it's going to ask me, what do I want to save this as? And I'm going to save this as my structure table style, and save this file. And then I can share that with somebody else within my organization, or I can just reload that next time I need to. So I click OK, and we see that my table automatically updates. Pretty fantastic. The great thing about our tables here now is if I go over to my actual pipe networks tab and I click on my structures and I rename a structure right here, manhole 1, click OK. As soon as I make that change here, my table updates automatically. One thing to note is that if I close Project Explorer, let me zoom to that manhole real quick. So I'm going to zoom to that in AutoCAD. I'm going to close Project Explorer. And now if I go to the structure properties here, we can see that this is manhole 1, but I want to change this to SS-MH-1 for its name. I'm going to click OK. So we updated that structure. I want to zoom back out here and find my table. And we can see that hasn't updated yet. All I have to do to update my table is to launch Project Explorer, go over to my data object sets here, want to select this guy, and as soon as I've got Project Explorer opened up, it updates that, and then my table's automatically updated. Very nice, very easy to do. You can do this with your pipe runs. You could do it with your alignments. You could set up tables for your surfaces and that sort of data as well. But what other reports can we create now that we've got some data sets created? How do I make this go out to a PDF or a Word document or an HTML file? Once I have a data set up here, I can either edit this one and make it, instead of put a table into AutoCAD, I could go change it to a PDF. Or if I right click on this and I click copy, and then I right click again and I paste, I'm going to paste in a new data set. I double click on it. I want to rename this one, and we're going to call this one HTML file. Now I want to change my object set actions to what I want it to do. I want to export this out to an HTML file. I want to use the layout style. I'll go ahead and use the same file name. The path right here, this is where it's going to save it to, or that's the file name, and then this is the output path. So it's going to put it in my documents folder, and then use the default report style object set. So I'm going to go ahead and use that default style again, and I'm going to click OK. Now, if I select this and I tell it to run selected actions, it's going to open up a dialog telling me one file was successfully generated or updated, and do I want to open that file now? So I'm going to click yes. It's going to open that up in my web browser because it's an HTML file, and I can bring it right over here, and I can see this data here. It tells me what drawing I was using, the path of that drawing, the date of the report, who it was by, and the report version. And then it shows all the same data that I had in my table that I was exporting out to my Civil 3D drawing into model space there. So that's creating an HTML document. Just the same, we could copy this again if we wanted to. So we'll copy that, and then we'll right click on that again and click paste. And we have a new one, so I double click on that, and I could call this one PDF, and I would just change this to a report to a PDF file. Same thing, I'll just use the defaults, I'll click OK, and if I wanted to generate that PDF report, then I would just click on this run selected action. So we can think of these data sets here as a deliverable in a sense, if we wanted to have that PDF file as a deliverable for our submittal to our developer or our review agency. Anytime we wanted to run that deliverable or generate that, we just need to run this selected action in our Project Explorer. So I click OK, and it's going to launch my PDF program here, and we'll have a PDF document of that table as well. Same format. I could have adjusted the layout of my sheet. Maybe I wanted to set my page to go landscape instead of portrait. But we can see it updates that table for us and generates that very quickly. Super easy. Once we have all of these set up, we can rerun these anytime we want and get that update. So that's creating some custom reports, creating some custom tables. Let's say now we need to generate that 2D data from our Civil 3D drawing to send out to our marketing team or our architect, just so that they can show the lots on their project site. I want to create a new data set right here, or a new object set. So I'm going to click on that. We're going to call this data to marketing 2D CAD, or 2D DWG. Object set description, I could add a description there if I want to. The action, this is the important one right here. If I hit that drop down, I can then see I can export to 2D AutoCAD drawing file. So I want to select that. Layout style, that's not really a concern because we're exporting data out of our file. So we've got our file options, the name, this is what it's going to create. The generated file name is going to be generated from that data right there. Output path is going to my documents again. And then now I need to go add some data to this object set. So I'm going to click OK. I've got my data to marketing 2D DWG selected. So let's go add some data to this now. I'm going to click the green plus button. It's going to bring up this dialog. And what do I want to add to it? I know I want to add some alignments. I want to add my main road alignments here. So I want my Cabernet Court. Let's see. Frontenac Drive right here. And then I have my Syra Way alignment here. So I want to add that. I click OK. As soon as I click OK, I can see that I've got all that alignment data here, those 3 alignments. I want to add some more data to that as well. I want to add the parcels so they can see my lot layout. So I need to go find those in here. This tab right here is my parcels. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to do a Control A, select all items at once, and then check a box. And now I'm going to add all those parcels to my data set. And let's add our manholes as well, or our pipe network. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK. So now I've got all of this. I can see the list of my parcels showing up here. I can scroll down. I can see I've got my pipe network as well. And then I have my 3 alignments up here at the very top. So I've got all that data. I'm going to generate a 2D drawing from automatically. So I'm going to make sure I've got this selected. And I'm going to click on Run Selected Action. It's going to work a little bit, takes it a couple seconds, and it tells me one file was successfully generated or updated. Do you wish to open this file now? I'm going to click Yes. And it's going to open up a new file in my Civil 3D. If I zoom extents here, I can see I have my drawing with just my lots, my centerline alignments, and my pipe network. If I click on that and look at my properties, that is not a pipe. It is just a two-dimensional line. If I select my alignment, select that, it just selects the segment of it, but it's shown in there. If I look at my properties, that is a line. It's on my road center line layer. Any text I select, I can see that's an M text, and it's got a hatch behind it because there's a wipeout. My other parcel labels, that's all M text data there. So real quick, you guys saw how quick that was to generate a 2-dimensional drawing with the data I needed to have for my marketing team to then make a JPEG image of, or my architect to bring into their site plan or something. Very quick, much easier than trying to weed that data out using some of our typical workflows. Project Explorer really made that a lot easier for us to deal with. So that's exporting data. Let me click back over to my Project Explorer demo drawing here, because we know as I came into this drawing here, as I click through and look at these tabs, I've got no smart objects up here except for in the AutoCAD blocks. I've got a list of the blocks in this drawing because this is just a basic AutoCAD data set. So let me go back over to my main drawing here. And as soon as I click on that, Project Explorer updates with the information in this drawing itself. So maybe we just need to run a quick report out of Project Explorer instead of putting a table in or setting up a data set. I could come down here and find my alignment. I could right click on it and I could tell it to write a quick report to a file, quick report to AutoCAD table, or quick export to 2D AutoCAD DWG file where I can export out just this alignment if I need to. So I'm going to do a quick report to file. And what type of file? Sure, PDF is okay. These are really just quick one-off files that we want to create. They're not something that we would want to regenerate with our deliverables. It's just a quick check. Maybe your boss wanted to double check an alignment or something. So it tells me my report is complete. I want to view it, so I'll click yes, and it's going to open that up in my PDF viewer that I use. And I can see I've got my alignment data right here. Not a whole lot to it, but it is there. So that's a quick report. Really easy to access from Project Explorer. I encourage you guys to take some time, cruise around Project Explorer through the different data set tabs here and seeing what you can generate reports of. Maybe play with your layouts a little bit, decide how you like those layouts to look. And lastly, let's look at preferences. We can see how we can make some quick changes to our preferences for our Project Explorer. So if I click that preference button down here, it's going to launch this dialog box. And this first tab is just general interface preferences. You can set what categories you want to see. If you want to change the text that is editable to a different color, you can change that in here. Maybe you want that to be a green instead of purple, so you could do that. You can go through these other tabs here. We can set the way our profile view preferences are. We can change our feature line preferences, our assembly views, corridor view preferences, pipe network. So you can change all the default look of your Project Explorer. Those settings are all found in the preferences here. I'm going to go ahead and restore defaults just to put things back the way they were and click OK. So that's quickly looking at changing just the way your Project Explorer looks here. Again, Project Explorer is going to work best for you if you have multiple monitors. You can have it up on one screen the entire time that you're working in your file and have your AutoCAD and the full window viewable on your other monitor. Ideally, that is the way I would approach doing things. So that's really what I have for you today. We talked about setting up and comparing data within Project Explorer. We talked about setting up our data sets and creating tables in AutoCAD that are dynamic. And then we talked about generating different types of reports in different formats as well. So hopefully you found today's session very helpful to you, and you're excited to jump into Project Explorer and dig in and see what you can do with it and what might fit your workflows. So that being said, do we have any questions? Oh, I see Brian's out there.
We have a couple from Brian. Yeah, I can read those off for you. His first question is, if I want a table of the structures along a specific road, is there a way to add specific structures to a group rather than the entire network?
You know, that is a great question, Brian, and I would have to dig into that a little bit to answer that for you, but I'd be happy to get back to you. I do have your email, so I can shoot you an email afterwards.
All right. His second question is, when you edited your structure table, you turned off the general pipe network table above the structure table. Where did you go to do that again?
And you edited the structure table, you turned it off. Okay, so if I'm in my data sets over here, and let's look at that first one that I created, my structure table. It's the object table button right here. If I double click on that and click use object table and turn that back on, it turns that back on for our table. Again, that's the object table button right here. Double click that and we can turn that on or off if my Civil 3D behaves properly. So I appear to be locked up at the moment. But that's where you find it. I just turned it on real quick. It's the object table right there.
Wonderful. All right, so it looks like we don't have any other questions at the moment. If anybody has any questions that they can't quite put into words right now, or maybe they're mulling it over, what's the best way they can reach you, Corey?
They can reach me via my email. That is ccharlick, CHARLICK, at ASTI.com. I believe we have that on my bio page there, on the PowerPoint, I think, maybe.
Yeah, we do.
Perfect. Excellent. If not, we can make sure that sends out with the video link as well.
Perfect. All right. Yeah. If any of you want to reach Applied Software as well with any questions, you can contact us at marketing@asti.com. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Corey. That was wonderful. Everybody, we appreciate you spending your time with us, and we trust that it was meaningful and impactful for you and your business. We look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. Bye, everybody.